Microphone's on. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the Planning Commission meeting here at City Hall, 501 Laurel Street in the council chambers. This is Wednesday, July 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Would you please call the roll, Mr. Kramvik?
Marone. Gorham.
Here.
Duval.
Here.
Norwood.
Here.
Grunwald.
Here.
Stangline.
Here.
Yeager.
Yes. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Item number 4 is an approval of the agenda. Does anyone?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Very good. We're off and rolling. Number 5 is new business. This will be 5A. This is to consider the support for the 805 Laurel project, especially in relationship to our comprehensive plan. Mr. Kramvik, this is a lengthy document, so I'm sure we don't need a verbatim rereading of everything that you've sent, as I'm sure most of us have read through this. But if you could give us the highlights, and then also, Mr. Kramvik, at the end of that, if you could just summarize what we're here specifically to do tonight to help you, and what we're really here not to do tonight, that would help us just kind of direct our comments afterwards, and I think we can keep everything moving. So please, Mr. Kramvik.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So city staff has been working with the Brainerd HRA as well as the development company D.W. Jones on a redevelopment project on the corner of A Street and Laurel Street in downtown Brainerd. The proposed project would include the demolition of the existing substandard buildings within the project footprint with the plan to rebuild a mixed-use building along with 78 units of multifamily housing with some commercial space as well. The plan also includes 65 units of underground parking along with additional parking in kind of the rear of the building. So the Planning Commission is tasked with providing a recommendation for the following. Review and provide a recommendation of the proposal by the HRA to establish a redevelopment project, adopt a redevelopment plan, and establish a tax increment financing redevelopment district 2-1 along with a TIF plan related thereto. So specifically, Planning Commission tonight is tasked with reviewing the plans, reviewing the TIF district, but specifically in relation to the comprehensive plan, any recommendations tonight should be based on review of the comprehensive plan and the general development of Brainerd. So with that, just a brief overview of the zoning for this project. 805 Laurel Street is in the town center district with the facade of the proposed building facing the A Street South, which is part of the town center frontage overlay district. So residential uses are allowed in the first floor of the town center district. However, the overlay district along A Street does require essentially commercial space. It'd be either a shop front or common entry facade. The proposed design and first floor that D.W. Jones is proposing does have all commercial units on the first floor facing A Street South. So with that, we'll go into the comprehensive plan, and again, I'll kind of highlight some of the areas. There's 4 sections that staff referenced in the findings of fact, kind of 4 sections within the comprehensive plan. The first one is land use. Some of the sections within the land use that this project relates to are taking advantage of a compact design, strengthen and direct development towards existing neighborhoods, promote reinvestment in the city's main highway corridors and downtown, encourage mixed-use neighborhoods that are walkable and bikeable, ones that provide daily services that residents need within walking distance of their homes, and endorse a vibrant downtown and support investment within our corridors. So according to the zoning code, the purpose of the town center district is to encourage continuation of a viable traditional downtown area by allowing retail, service, office, and entertainment facilities and public, semi-public uses, as well as multifamily dwelling units. The proposed project fully utilizes the existing parcels. Part of this is creating the underground parking, so you're not having to create excess surface parking in the area, which helps create a compact design as well as building up. The proposed project would also enhance the downtown neighborhood by providing additional housing options for potential residents to be within walking or biking distance of their daily needs or places of business. Also adding 78 additional units of multifamily housing would help support existing businesses and encourage and potentially attract new businesses to the downtown area. So with that, the next section of the comprehensive plan, community character. A few of the highlights within the community character that staff listed within the findings of fact is transforming downtown as a social hub of the community and the region, communicate a design vision through guidelines or standards for structures, site design, building materials, and other requirements meant to accentuate community image, and collaborate with developers and builders on future development and/or redevelopment proposals to ensure high-quality designs. With this project, the 805 Laurel Street project, the developer proposes brick veneer along kind of the bottom portion of the entire structure, which would be the shop fronts on the 8th Street side, as well as continuing along the Laurel Street side. This brick veneer would certainly help relate this modern structure to some of the older structures or historic structures across the street that are made entirely of brick or have quite a bit of brick in their facade. Along with the brick veneer, the building alternates lap siding and rectangular panel siding to provide contrasting materials and visual interest from the street view. Kind of does it in a sequence pattern through there, so it's not just all one type of material along the building. Also, commercial units 4 and 5 pictured along Laurel Street there. So there's 3 units along 8th Street. There's 2 additional units, 4 and 5, that are along Laurel Street that are not a requirement of the overlay district, but the developer is proposing to add these. This will help kind of visually strengthen the corner of 8th and Laurel to kind of relate to the rest of downtown with shopping. There's also kind of a corner, enhanced corner facade on 8th and Laurel as well to provide enhancement to the building. Next part of the comprehensive plan would be housing. A few sections with that is complement Brainerd's entry-level and affordable housing options by encouraging other move-up and mid to upper-end market rate housing options. Ensure an adequate supply of quality and affordable housing units for current and future residents. Seek ways to encourage mixed-use development and redevelopment in and around the downtown area. The proposed project would retain the commercial space, as mentioned previously, but on top of the commercial space that's already there, would add 78 additional market rate apartments to Brainerd, and it would be in and around the downtown area, which supports that section of the comprehensive plan. And the last section that staff will discuss here in relation to the comprehensive plan will be economic development. Policies within economic development include driving infill development and redevelopment towards areas where current infrastructure is present or places where high levels of blight or disinvestment exists. Invest in community improvements that will spur and support revitalization or redevelopment, and support the ability to enable residents to work within close walking and biking distances from where they live. So the proposed project area right now includes 3 buildings that are 2 of them considered substandards as part of the LHB engineering review of the site, as well as a large unused off-street parking lot. This site does have all the necessary utilities and infrastructure present to support the redevelopment of a 4-story mixed-use building. Also, a redevelopment project of this size and scope would enhance and support the revitalization of Brainerd's downtown. So with that, I'll open it up to Michaela from Baker Tilly. I believe she should be online. She's going to give a quick brief presentation of TIF districting and a redevelopment TIF district and what those would look like. After that, we can certainly answer questions. Staff can answer questions. Eric from the HRA is here to answer questions. Michaela could, and the developer, Skip from DW Jones, is also present online.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Michaela, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. So please, I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor here. I think what we'll do is before we have any questions coming back, staff, we'll just cycle through all 3 of these folks, and then we can just have them all kind of hang out here. And if we have any questions from the commission, we can just address them all kind of at the same time and let whoever wants to speak up, speak up. So Michaela, the floor is all yours, and thank you so much for attending here.
Great. Thank you. And thanks for having me here tonight to present just an overview on the redevelopment plan and the tax increment financing plan that the Planning Commission is being asked to review. Just as a background, I think we already discussed, the tax increment financing district that's being proposed is a redevelopment district, which is based on the current conditions of the property, being 2 out of the 3 buildings qualifying as substandard. so it meets the test of more than 50% of the buildings being substandard. There's 5 properties in total that are being included within the tax increment financing district, and all of them are what's considered occupied, meaning there's some kind of structure or parking lot on the each of the individual properties. So collectively, they do qualify for inclusion within a redevelopment district. Once that qualification has been met, there is no limitations or requirements on what type of development can occur within the tax increment district. So I think, as was mentioned, this would be a primarily a market rate mixed use project with no limitations on the types of housing units or commercial space that can be included within the development. Prior to creating a tax increment financing district, it needs to be, or a tax increment district needs to be established within a project area. And in this case, with the Brainerd HRA establishing both the tax increment financing district and the redevelopment project area, the boundaries of both plans and project area, or the TIF district and the project area boundaries, are coterminous. So the 5 properties are both within the tax increment financing district and the redevelopment plan. The future proposed building, the mixed use building with the housing, the commercial, the underground parking, the estimated taxable value of that project upon completion is just over $9 million. And the tax increment revenues that are generated from the incremental taxes from the tax increment district would be used to offset a portion of the redevelopment costs that the developer is incurring in conjunction with the development plan. At this stage, again, the HRA and the city are considering the establishment of the tax increment financing district, which would assist the developer with obtaining other financing sources for this project. Because it is a redevelopment cost, there are significant extraordinary costs associated with it that requires multiple funding sources, including those you might traditionally be familiar with of private equity and debt. But there are other sources, including gap financing as proposed through tax increment from the HRA that would be used to finance a portion of the redevelopment costs. The tax increment plan and the tax increment plan itself contains the details of the project itself, including the budget of estimated project costs and sources of funds, including or primarily tax increment financing, as well as the statutory authority for which the district is being created. The proposed budget of tax increment revenues and expenditures is about $4.7 million. And that is based on the projection of $9 million of taxable value, and the maximum term, which I should mention for redevelopment district, is up to 26 years, with the project expected to start construction, assuming all financing sources are obtained, in 2025 and completing in starting in 2024, completing in 2025, expecting to be online full value for taxes payable in 2027. And then again, the maximum term would be 25 years after the first receipt in 2026. So again, tonight, the Planning Commission is being asked to review when the HRA is creating both the tax increment financing district within the redevelopment plan, that reviewing the redevelopment plan and making sure that the proposed project is in conformance with the development plans, understanding that the actual terms of the tax increment assistance would be better known once the other sources of financing are obtained. And this is, again, the first step in the financing puzzle for the developer in this project. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, or it sounds like may hear from Skip, and then we can be available for questions as needed.
Very good. Thank you so much, Michaela. Yes, at this time, if it's all right, we'll jump over to Skip, and we'll have you jump in here, please. Thank you.
Yeah, well, James and Michaela did a really nice job. I don't know that I have a whole lot more facts to present to you guys, because they really covered most of them.
Okay.
Maybe just a couple of points about the multifamily housing units themselves. The building is comprised of studio 1 and 2 bedroom units. All the units above first floor will have decks. Common amenities that we'll have in the property are community room, a package room, a leasing office, There's a garbage chute for the convenience of residents, from all the floors to drop their garbage down to the first floor. The units that have a full appliance amenity package, including dishwashers, microwaves, and in-unit laundry. The total development cost, I'm not sure if somebody mentioned that, it's right now about $17.8 million. And the main reason for us moving forward with the TIF right now is we are proposing a request to deed for a demo grant, which is due August 1st. And application points much better if it has a TIF district in place. And so that's the reason we are working with HRA to move forward with this. The other piece of financing that we don't have lined up yet is a Minnesota Housing Finance Workforce Grant Program. That program has been funded very well by the legislature this year, but they have not released the RFP. The typical RFP is released in the fall with about a March award date, and we expect to know the dates on that to happen probably in the next 30 to 45 days. But for that grant request, we need, for both of them, we need matching funds. Both of them are 2-for-1 matching, and the TIF will be one of the matching pieces that we use. We'll also use the deed money as a match to the state, as well as some other pieces. But this is a complex project. It's an expensive project, building it in downtown. There's extra costs that definitely come with this besides just removing a building. And we're very excited to try to create some new housing downtown, which hasn't been done before. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Skip. Okay, so what I'm thinking here is that we'll just try to segment this, break this up into 3 smaller, more palatable parts for any questions or comments. So I'm thinking we'll break this up into kind of review of the plans or the plans as submitted, and then the second part would be the TIF district or the TIF district conversation, and then final would be the comp plan conformity. Does anyone have any comments that they think wouldn't fit into one of those 3 groups? Plans, TIF district, or comp plan conformity? And if we do, then we'll probably get those out of the way first, and then otherwise we'll just jump in with those 3 segments. No, we're good? Okay, so first item for discussion here, and this may not necessarily be directed to any one staff or people who are joining us tonight, would be any comments or questions regarding the plans, specifications, what the building looks like, where it's sitting, how the parking lots work, any of those parts and pieces. Yes, please, Mr. Gorham.
Earlier on, I think in the first iteration of this project, there was talk of creating some sort of subsidized housing to really have a real mix in the housing. And I think there was an attempt to, I can't remember exactly what it was, but you were getting points, in other words, to be graded and saying, yes, this is acceptable for a type of housing. It seems now it's kind of moved to a market rate. Is that right, that it's kind of moved, maybe this is a question for Skip, it's moved kind of from subsidized into just a regular market rate housing, is that correct?
You're absolutely correct. We had submitted an application to Minnesota Housing Finance for an affordable project where it would have had maximum income limits of 60% area median income. And we didn't get funded with that. And as the workforce market rate program developed, we really felt that this is probably a better market rate than an affordable project downtown. And we've been successful at getting funding from the state for those buildings. We've done about 8 of them since the program's been launched, which isn't very long. And so, yes, we have moved to a full market rate.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Very good. Any other questions on plans, specifications? Okay, very good. We're moving right along. We're going to move on to any conversations or any discussion regarding the TIF district portion of this. I have one quick question. This is probably for James, I think, but Educate me, because I'm a little fuzzy on this, is hypothetically, we would be creating a TIF district, even though there's a possibility this project would not be funded. So my question is what is the process of creating a TIF district, and then what do we do with it after we've created it? And hypothetically, there's no project that goes there. Does it remain a TIF district? Do we have the ability to turn it back into something else? So that's my question here is, are we pigeonholing ourselves with a maneuver prior to funding?
Sure, and I can take that, Mr. Chair, if you'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Sharpenter.
And Michaela can absolutely back into this as well, but my understanding is by approving the HOA going forward with creating a TIF district at this point does not close the TIF note. The TIF note would not be closed until we know all of the funding mechanisms that the developer would have in place. And so we're not looking at the actual creation of the TIF note until next year. So we wouldn't, if the project didn't go forward, we wouldn't be locked into the TIF project at all. And Michaela, if you want to jump in on that as well.
Sure, I can address that. So Eric is right. This is the first step of considering approval of the TIF plan and tax increment financing district for the project. The next step that makes this tax increment district official, if you will, is that we would request certification with the county. So there's maybe two steps that we can think about. One is this is the TIF plan, which provides the HRA with the authority to pledge tax increment and use it for this project. The next step would be a TIF agreement between the HRA and the developer that would include the actual terms of the TIF assistance. As well as then certifying or requesting certification of the tax increment district with the county, which then makes it official and would start to generate any tax increment following the development. If the project were not to happen, the tax increment district just lays dormant. And if there's the project on the site in the future and tax increment is relevant, we could view it at that point. Otherwise, it really just stays as a dormant document. It's been approved, but never executed, and no assistance per the TIF agreement or certification of the district would occur. So there'd be no increment, there'd be no pledge of increment. So those are the two things that would come next after the project receives the funding that Skip had gone through.
Very good. Thank you, Michaela. I have one other follow-up question for Michaela, unless somebody else has something. When you spoke earlier, this was something I read also, but I wanted to ask about you. There was mention of once the TIF district is created, there are no restrictions on use. And I heard you say something like that, and I wanted to make sure that I'm understanding what that means, no restrictions on use, because what I'm envisioning in my head is that our own use that we would establish as a city for what could hypothetically go into a commercial building, what commercial means. Is that still controlled by us, the city, or is that then controlled by another entity, meaning that we could lose grasp of what could hypothetically go into those commercial spaces?
So I will address it from the tax increment standpoint. And what I meant by that is there's about 5 different tax increment financing district types. Some of the tax increment district types are based on the end use. I know you had asked the question of, initially when this project proposal, there was an affordability component. Had that project been approved in that method, it was not based on the current condition of the property, but more on what the end use, the end building would be, meaning there would be income requirements that have to be certified annually as related to housing. There's a limitation on how much commercial space can be included with the housing district. So there are certain limitations on what the physical building requirements can be, and if there's income requirements and so on. With this being a redevelopment district, because it meets the qualifications up front, what I had meant is there are no income requirements. It can be all market rate housing. It can include commercial spaces. And so that's from the tax increment standpoint itself is what, just to clarify. I guess the question on the types of uses or commercial space, I might defer to James or Skip, but I would assume, they would have to be compliant uses of the city ordinance or regulations. And so there couldn't be, I would imagine there could not be prohibited uses similar to other buildings within the city and maybe specifically the downtown area.
Very good, thank you. I was just making sure that I understood the dialogue that that the TIF district use would not be superseding our city already established use. So that's all I had for questions on TIF district. Anything else, anyone? Okay, very good. We're going to go to our comp plan conformity. This is really the big driver of why we're here tonight. So I will now ask my esteemed commission if they have any questions regarding the comp plan conformity, or questions or comments.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
maybe a question for Mr. DeShane on, related to Mr. Gorham's question here. When we have the market rates, I'm curious what the intended or the vision for rental rates are for these various units are, and whether that includes utilities as well. Mr. Shane, could you address
Sure.
what you think the rates would be for the studio, one bedroom, two bedroom?
So right now, our pro forma has studios ranging from $820 to $850. One bedrooms, one baths ranging from $975 to just over $1,000. And part of that has to do with square footage changes and of the units, why they get more expensive. The two bedroom, one baths are $1,100 to $1,120, and the two bedroom, two baths are $1,250 to $1,260. And utilities, heat, water, sewer, garbage would all be included in tenant's rent. The tenant would be responsible for their own electricity and phone and internet if they so desire.
Thank you. And again, the plan right now is that there would not be any subsidized units in there by design.
Well, we are going for market rate. If there was a tenant that had a project-based voucher that could afford the units, I mean, that's our bread and butter business. We have no problem with that. We would rent to those people, that person all day long. But if we do not necessarily, we're not restricted to have persons of that income, except, no, I should make one clarification. We are going to be applying to the Housing Trust Fund with the county, which does come with some fairly high level income restrictions. We have, let's see, 10 units that would be restricted to 80% area median income. There are, sorry, I don't have it total. Let's see, 19, 23, 27, 35 units that would be restricted to 115% area median income, and the balance would be market. So we view the 115% AMIs as really market units. The 80% are still pretty high. All of them are higher than an affordable project that Michaela was referring to that would be in a housing TIF district. So they're pretty high level restrictions, and we don't foresee them really making them any different than a market rate. But I should give you that clarification.
That's very helpful, thank you. And so in effect, with the housing voucher options, it doesn't preclude that we have some affordability here for lower income, below the median income. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Gorham.
Yeah. My question, I think again for a skip on this one, 78 units, do you think that means 125 people, 100? I'm just trying to guess how many people we're adding to downtown, approximately.
I don't know the answer to that. It would just be a guess, really.
I'm good at the guess, so we're gonna have at least 78 people there. And probably more.
We'll have at least 78, and there will be, there's certainly potential to have a few children, and there's certainly
Yeah.
potential to have, a roommate or a spouse
Sure.
as well. So, I mean, your number of 125, I don't think is unreasonable.
Okay. Well, that leads me to the second part of the question. And on the first go around, I think it was Mr. Duvall who mentioned the need for maybe to look at green space. To some that if you can have that many people in an area like this, might be nice to have. I'm not talking a full park, but just a place where you can walk the dog to do the business and things like this. And if there's kids, maybe a little outdoor space. And kind of semi-related to this is across kitty corner, heading to the southwest, is an empty lot right in front of the new water tower, which of course was built in about 1965. In front of the new water tower, which has a bench and it just sits there as a space. And I'm just saying it would be kind of neat to see if this project could have some sort of element of a little bit of green space. I know I mean, overall, I think what you're doing is great, and you're going to be limited in terms of your footprint there, but that's just my question. Is there any thoughts of including some sort of outdoor element?
Yeah, I mean, I recall this conversation previously. You know, we don't have, I mean, it's very impervious, our current design. And to give up space would mean give up parking stalls. And parking stalls also seem to be a highly needed item in downtown Brainerd. I think at the work session we had with the city council and the HRA, I think the mayor said, you know, I should rent out our vacant parking lot at Thrifty right now because there's people that need parking stalls. And so we sort of went to great pains to see, okay, how can we at least get 1-for-1 parking so that we don't have our tenants parking all over downtown and affecting other businesses by cars being there. And of course, it's a hassle in the wintertime with snow plowing. So we chose to try to maximize the amount of parking stalls as best we could. And so we do exceed. As James had said, I believe we have 65 underground, and we have 26 surface stalls. So we have some extras. We have a few extras for guests or if people have 2 cars. So the dilemma is, do you put more people to park on the streets, or do you take a couple spaces and make a green space?
That's a good answer. I can accept that. Maybe I need to talk to my friend down the park board about a pocket park there right in front of the new water tower. Oh, that'll be another day. Thank you for your answer.
Very good. Any other questions? I have what seems like a really dumb question, but is there a policy on pets? Will there be a policy on pets?
We do allow pets. On our market rate buildings, we are pet friendly. We do have criteria for the pets, you actually go into a website, you list the type of dog you have, it determines what your deposit is on that pet, and also what the additional rent is for that pet. We also, this does, as just mentioned, doesn't have a lot of green space, but we do DNA test all the pets, so that if there's waste that is not picked up, we send it in, it tells us whose dog it is, and they get fined.
Wow.
I think
That was not the answer I was expecting. I got to be honest.
There's a little
Well done. You A+ on that answer. Well, you answered my second. What was where my mind was going. So, thank you very much on that. Anybody else? Very good. Okay. I guess at this point, I'm going to ask if James or Eric or anybody else would like to just jump in with any further thoughts. Sounds like we're kind of getting to nearing the end of this discussion. If so, now would be the time, and otherwise we'll be looking for somebody to are we looking for a specific motion, James?
Yeah, so specific motion, but kind of before that, just want to make Planning Commission aware, because this is a 5+ unit building, all 5+ unit buildings within the city of Brainerd do require a conditional use permit. So this is kind of the first step is the TIF districting, but eventually, before construction, this will be again reviewed by the Planning Commission.
Very good. Thank you. So with that, I will ask if anybody would like to form some version of a motion in either not necessarily approval, but go ahead.
And I do have a couple staff recommended motions at the end of the document.
Very good. So there you go. We've got them right there for us, ready to read.
I'll make a motion to approve of the proposal by the HRA to establish a redevelopment project number 2 and adopt a redevelopment plan and establish a tax increment financing redevelopment district number 2-1 and adopt a TIF plan relating to thereto.
Very good.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on item number 1 there. Do we have any discussion? Yes, please, Mr. Gorham.
Should we include a reference to the staff findings?
Please, Mr. Kramvik.
Yep, so that was number 1. Under number 2 is recommend approval of the proposed project to be constructed within the redevelopment TIF district, and redevelopment project area is supported by the goals and policies of the Brainerd Comprehensive Plan.
You see this as one motion should include both of those items, is what you're saying.
Yep.
So we have all our bases covered. That's what I'm trying to get at. Good.
So at this point, I'd like to ask the original motion maker if he would like to amend his motion here. And
I will
and the
amend.
seconder.
I'll amend the motion for item 2. Recommend approval that the proposed project to be constructed within the redevelopment TIF district and redevelopment project area is supported by the goals and policies of the Brainerd Comprehensive Plan.
Very good. And how does our seconder
Second.
feel about this?
Second
Okay,
the whole
very
thing.
good. So we got a motion and a second here. Do we have any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Very good. Sounds like we've got our motion to move forward here. So I'd just like to end this by saying I've been a part of this ever since, I think since the very beginning. I've been here a long time, but since the very beginning, and I just want to say it's very exciting and unimaginable amount of hard work that goes into just even getting to the point of where this is even possible. So thanks to everyone, and thanks to the team that believes in investing in Brainerd and in our downtown area. So keep up the good work, and let us know how we can help. So that's all.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chair,
Yes, please, Mr.
what next steps are, where's this going from here?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, thanks. Mr. Kramvik, can you just kind of give us some, or Eric, some general guidelines on, it sounds like this is still a ways out. We've still got some gaps in that, but can you just kind of give us a basic rundown on where we're headed?
Yeah, so immediate next steps, Monday, July 17th, this will be in front of City Council with this recommendation that's moved forward from the Planning Commission. So the City Council can review the redevelopment TIF district proposal for the HRA and hopefully see that they can approve the HRA of creating that TIF district. At that point, next step is July 26th at the HRA board. We will be reviewing this, hopefully for approval to move forward with creating that redevelopment TIF district. So then the developer is able to apply, and actually it would be the HRA that would be applying for that deed redevelopment grant on behalf of the developer. From there, then we get to some future marks where we're going to look at that redevelopment or the workforce housing grant through Minnesota Housing that the city would likely be a partner in for that. In applying for that, again, as Skip said, we don't have the date when that RFP is going to be released. We anticipate sometime in the fall with funding granted sometime in the beginning part of next year. So once we get to that, Skip also mentioned that he would be applying and likely applying for Crow Wing County Housing Trust Fund for some funding through that. That can be applied for at any time. Once the developer has those pieces hopefully in place and approvals in place, again, the plan is for him to hopefully break some ground on the demolition and rebuilding sometime in 2024. I think you're looking at summer maybe, Skip. Does that sound approximate?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
you can take it from there.
assuming the award comes in March, hopefully by August that we would be closing and hopefully opening about September of '25.
Yeah, so still a few hurdles, but this is a really positive step in that direction to hopefully getting some of these other funding streams approved of. And again, this step really does help add credence and some weight to those.
Very good. Thank you, Eric. All right. Anything else? All right. Hearing none, we have one last item left, and that's an adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
And we got a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you again.